Housing to fall by 9.3% in 2023. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee. We're going to have a talk about a recent survey that's come out of NAB looking at housing and their predictions of a 9.3% fall in house prices by 2023. Is this the crash everyone waited for? Well, let's have a bit of a look and a talk about this one, guys. We'll jump over here and have a look at my thinking pose. Now, this is one of the images from the NAB report, and this is their predictions, their forecast for 2023. We can see this year, the capital city average is going to be up by 2.7%. And the fall, let me get my pen, the fall will be down 9.3% in 2023, everyone. Okay, and we'll go through this a little bit, but make sure you stay to the end because I want to give some suggestions for how to deal with housing market FOMO, fear of missing out, because that, it can lead to people making rash and illogical decisions with one of the biggest purchases of their entire life. So, this is the NAB Residential Property Survey for Q4 of 2021. And I will link to that, or you can just search for it and you can download it and go through the whole thing. But I want to just go through some of the highlights, everyone. We'll read through these. And then I want to talk about what the actual implications of these predictions are. So the NAB, let me get the highlighter going. The NAB Residential Property Index eased further to plus 59 points in Q4. So it's an index. So they measure it. They go back to time, they take a measurement, and it's either a plus or above. So you kind of get a feel for the trend of where things are going. It has a lot of impact on the economy, on consumer sentiment too. It may not reflect reality, but that doesn't matter, guys. So it continues trending well above average of plus 16 points. Sentiment was highest in Northern Territory and lowest in Victoria, despite a small uplift. Market confidence also inched down, with the short and long-term measures falling for the third straight quarter to plus 56 and plus 47 points respectively. So it's falling, but it's still insanely positive, guys. And you can see it down here. So confidence levels are now highest in the NT-ACT, lowest in Tasmania, Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland, with recent data pointing to further softening in the monthly rate of dwelling appreciation. The average survey expectations for national house prices in the next 12 months was revised down, with expectations highest in ACT, NT, WA, and the lowest in New South Wales and Queensland. The outlook for rents, however, improved and lifted in all states except Queensland and Tasmania. Property professionals again singled out construction costs as the biggest constraint on new housing development in the country in Q4. Well, we have had insane amounts of government intervention to stimulate the property sector, everyone. We're familiar with Home Builder, all of the significant intervention that did into the market. Something I've been finding myself saying time and again as I've been talking to tradies and people in the construction industry. First recession in 28 years. Who would have thought the market would be on fire, everyone? It's because, housing is the favorite tool for our political class to intervene in the economy because, it wins votes, it supports a lot of people, and it actually is effective in instantly getting money out there. And, they didn't care about providing social housing. They didn't care about solving problems. They just wanted to make sure that the velocity of money kept going, so that's why they pumped up housing. So it's just something to keep in mind with regards to your concerns for the future housing market and economy here in Australia, because our politicians will intervene in it again, everyone. There'll be calls for it. So, lack of stock and price levels were identified as the biggest impediment for buyers of established housing, with credit access and rising interest rates also becoming more problematic for home buyers, particularly in New South Wales and Victoria. So it's getting harder for some people to get in. That's why the government had, if you look at the deposit requirements for a 3-bedroom house in Sydney, it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars for the deposit. It's nuts, everyone. It's nuts. And, they had 2% home loan guarantees for single parents. All you needed was a 2% deposit, everyone. And then you had a 5% deposit. So if you're struggling to get a deposit, you can get in. Can you still service the loan? Well, at the moment, yeah, it's probably no problem. It's probably cheaper than rent. But if interest rates keep going up, you might run into some trouble. But how many people will find that a lot easier than just the struggle of renting and saving a deposit? So what would be the impact, everyone, of these predictions? And let's jump into Excel. Jump over here. There we go. Okay. So what have I got here? We've got Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, and Adelaide. And we'll draw on this. Yeah, I've got it. Okay. And Adelaide and Hobart. And these are the asking prices as of today for a 3-bedroom house from SQM data. Can I make that a bit bigger? No, I can't. Anyway. And now this is the 2022 price increase prediction that we're seeing from NAB. And now for the bottom two, which is, I'm just moving it out of the way of my camera, Canberra and Darwin, I've just used the average growth numbers because they're not explicitly mentioned in this report, but they'll probably be higher anyway. But it gives you an idea. So right now in Sydney, for a 3-bedroom house, you're talking $1.5 million with change. Melbourne, $1,080,000. Brisbane, $769,000. And let's just, I'm going to bring up this. This is asking prices. Okay, this is what people are asking. Now, I've just brought up the SQM data, and I'll refresh this because I want to highlight, look at that spike there at the end, guys. Look at how this has just shot up just recently. So it's all been climbing reasonable, then boom. Brisbane is running a bit hot, everyone in that property sector. You've got Perth at 642,000, Adelaide at 633, and good old Hobart. Hobart, which used to be cheap. Hobart, when I was working as an architectural student here in Queensland for a Tasmanian-based firm, I'd fly down there and see the property prices. I was so jealous for how cheap it is down there, or was, not anymore. So, if we have their predicted price growth, well, Sydney's going to go up 30 grand in a year to 1.58 million. Melbourne only up 12,000, so not that much. Brisbane will be up 32, Perth 7,000, Adelaide 22, and Hobart 27. Then we have Canberra and Darwin 26 and 16,000. So still a bit of growth. The only one that's really beating inflation would probably be Brisbane and Hobart and maybe Darwin, depending on which inflation or how you choose to measure it. But then we have the price corrections in 2023 that they're predicting. So in Sydney, an 11.4% fall. Melbourne, an 11.4% fall. Brisbane will go down 6.4%. Perth, 5.8%. Then you've got 8.1% for Adelaide and 4.1% for Hobart. The national average is 9.3%. So we're talking a delta here of 180,000 down in Sydney, 124,000 down in Melbourne, 51,000 down in Brisbane, 37 down in Perth, 53 down in Adelaide, and 26 down in Hobart, as well as 92 and 56,000. These seem like big numbers because they are big numbers. But how far back in time would we have to go with it? Is this the crash, the correction that everyone's been waiting on? I'm going to time the market. I'm waiting for a crash. I'm not getting in. It's overpriced. Well, yeah, you're right. It is all overpriced. But that's the challenge of waiting for a correction. So I'm going to have a sip of my quite hot coffee. And I want you to let me know how far back in time do you think we need to go to get to these prices here, everyone? And is it affordable? Okay, so what I'm going to do is let's have a look here. You know what we'll do? We'll do Sydney first. Sydney, June 2021. What months, everyone? Let's have a look. Melbourne, April 2021. Brisbane, December 2021. That shows you the spike that we've had. Perth, September 2021. And we'll just show them all. December 2021 for Adelaide, Hobart, September 2021. So I don't know who, and same thing for Canberra and ACE and Northern Territory, September and October. So I don't know who was thinking 2021 prices were affordable. Even if we had, a 20% correction, guys. Let's do negative 20. Let's say we had a negative 20% correction across the board. Look at that. And we're still talking 1.2 million in Sydney. Melbourne, 800,000. Brisbane, 642. Perth, 519. Adelaide, 524. And Hobart, 517. That's 20%. They're not predicting that, everyone. And that's pretty drastic. That will result in political intervention. 100%. I'd bet a carton on it. Now, you also have to realize, if we buy in them, we're in negative equity, what's going to happen? The bank isn't going to foreclose on you. If you can just keep going and paying your property off, if you're making all the repayments, if you're not causing any issues, they're not going to care. If you're a investor that's over leveraged and you've got a whole lot of properties, you may have to up the rent or shave a few. And I'm sure some people are already doing that, preparing for a correction. But it all comes down to your time frame. So let's have a look at a survey I put to the viewers. I asked you, what's your predictions for the housing market in 2022? Now, the majority of you, 36%, said it's going to be a boring housing market. 15% said it would be a bear market, 28% a bull market, and 21% said a bust market, a significant crash. Let's just remind ourselves of the viewer demo here of Australia. We're majority Australians, guys. Female to male split is 12 to over 80, 87, 88% pretty much. And most of us are millennials with some Gen Xers and boomers, and a few Zoomers are joining us for the show, everyone. So that gives you kind of the breakdown. A lot of them are millennials, like me, who want to get into the property market. Now, these are the questions I put to you. The bulls were the housing market will go gangbusters. That was 28% of them. 15% said housing will fall in 2022. Remember, this prediction from NAB is saying still growth this year. 37% say housing will largely be flat, which pretty much, 1 or 2%, yeah, it's pretty flat. And 21% are predicting a huge collapse is coming, going bust. We'll have to see, everyone. We'll have to see how high they are going to raise interest rates and how many homeowners will be able to manage it. Now, we had 2,700 votes, 60 likes, and 320 comments. You can still vote and participate or read some of the comments, but I've picked out some good ones for us to discuss or highlight. The first one from DIY Miracle 3 weeks ago. The housing market is absolutely in a bubble, but I fully expect it to be the last market bubble to burst given the economic value it has to politicians in both assets and voting in this country. I would say more people are interested in property than anything else in Australia. This is our national sport. I'm surprised we don't have, if they redo the anthem or the flag, we become a republic. It's going to be a spec home on there, and Australia's for we are indebted and love our houses. That's what it's going to be. Maybe we should get that made up, guys. And this one from P Plater. I'm partway through Safdie's Amoyus's The Fiat Standard, and it's changed my point of view. This doesn't happen often, but I actually agree with the middle class on this one. I think it's going to keep going up. It shouldn't in any sane world, but we're not in a sane world. That's the thing. You can be right with all the predictions. Housing shouldn't go up, but you've got to understand we're in a global economy. We just need to look better than other places. And if people want to park their money in Australian property, how many of them will do that? And how many Australians will work themselves to death to get a house? So, Nick, holding pattern for the next 10 years might go up or down a fraction. So he's saying it's going to trade sideways for a decade. I honestly think that's more likely rather than a drastic correction. I think it'll just go flat. We've seen that we had our first recession in 28 years. We had the entire economy locked down. The government did everything they could to intervene in the market. The banks didn't foreclose on anyone. APRA, the body managing the banks or monitoring them, changed the rules for reporting. Okay? So they just changed the rules, guys. We're not in a free market here in Australia. Very few parts of the world are. So don't kid yourself. So, and debt and regret. Brisbane will have double-digit growths thanks to all the Southerners, Olympics, and future infrastructure works needed for the Olympics. I knew this was coming due to how COVID was handled here. Also, it's a good country. It's God's country after all. You can already see all the New South Wales, South Australian, and Victorian number plates on the road here in my state in Queensland. And I mean, if, driving around the city, we're seeing lots of work, lots of construction. It's just going off, guys. So if you want to participate and have your comments featured in my videos, guys, just go on the community tab on the YouTube channel and I'll select some that I'll use in upcoming videos. And thank you to everyone who took the time to comment. So, how to deal with housing market FOMO, everyone. Don't turn buying a house into an impulse decision. We've been talking about the housing market on the channel for some time. It's important to all of us. I've been frustrated as an architect working in the construction industry, just how much houses are when you realize what's in them, guys. And I'm not really a residential architect. We do more commercial, industrial, educational, those type of things, bigger projects. But when you see these things, a bit of pine, bit of cheap plaster, a bit of wiring and some render on the outside, which is styrofoam, it's just nuts. It is just nuts, guys. So, 5 suggestions. And please, if you have some better ones, leave them in the comments, guys, because there are people that are FOMOing, and you've got to learn to get some control over it. So, number 1, understand that the media makes money spreading housing FOMO, fear of missing out. It creates clicks, it creates eyeballs, people are afraid. You've got a huge generation that's just struggling and frustrated with getting into property. You've got people who are hoping, pinning all their hopes on a huge market correction because that's their only way to get in. You've got people who want to try and time the market to get in. Now, timing the market is when you buy right at the bottom and then sell right at the top. That's for a day trader, and even those, it's difficult for them to do. How's the average person going to possibly be able to even do it on housing when it's all, we might have had a big correction, but then you had mortgage holidays. We should have had a big correction. All the people who were over-leveraged, who weren't prepared, should have been burned out of their debt. The market should have corrected drastically, and then people should have learned to prepare. But that's not how we do things in Australia. We're not a free market economy. We're a very socialist country here, and people have an expectation of state intervention and protection. Am I wrong? Look at all the amount of debt. Let's hang on. I'll bring that up. Look at the huge amount of debt at a federal and state level that's just growing more and more. Number 2. Don't try to time the market. There could be a huge opportunity cost waiting for a crash. Okay? If you've saved up a deposit, if you've done all your scenarios, if you've found the place, buy. Test what would happen if you're a couple and one of you lost the job. Or if your hours got cut in half. Scenario, plan ahead. Be prepared, be an adult. If you're going to try and time the market, good luck to you. But you've got to understand there could be an opportunity cost for that. And that, by opportunity cost, that's if you the cost of avoiding jumping in. That could be potential gains that you didn't realize. Or it could be reduced stress from not having to rent and move around and all those costs from going from one property to the other while you're waiting for the ultimate crash. So you've got to keep that in mind, everyone. It's not just money, too. Stress, it's even if you're living in a crappy house that you own, it's a lot better than having to get kicked out and moved around and all these other things with the rental market. 3, and I think this is a general life thing. Avoid comparing yourself and your property to others. You're looking for your house, not one to show off. Okay, so don't worry if someone has a nicer house or they could be in debt to the eyeballs. We bought a fixer-upper. I'm not proud of it. It needs a lot of work. We're slowly getting there. But I'd rather have this than a huge mortgage and a lot more stress. I think that's one of the best things in life, is to realize minimizing stress is bloody awesome, guys. Number 4. Realize that you might not be able to instantly have the lifestyle of previous generations. Times have changed. I think some people put off having children because they've got this expectation that life should be perfect. They should be able to provide everything that they got, when they were 8 years old from their parents. Well, they haven't seen those first 8 years where the parents were struggling in a tiny little rental or in a crappy house, just building it up, or building a business, or sacrificing. You're not going to get the instant, super house with everything in the right location right at the beginning. If you can, awesome. But I wouldn't be leveraging myself too far for it, guys. Times change. And number 5, plan for the worst case scenario. Budget for that. I'd say buy a fixer-upper, buy a bit further out. Something to reduce your costs. Think about it. If you're a double income couple, which most people are, what would happen if you live with one income? What happens if your wife or your partner wants to stay home and raise the kids? You've got to plan for those type of opportunities or those type of scenarios because, well, you don't know what's going to happen, guys. And if everything's riding on it all going perfectly to plan, you're going to get surprised because life ain't perfect. And adversity, challenge, it builds strength. So there are 5 suggestions for dealing with housing market FOMO, everyone. Let me know yours in the comments below. Do you have some better ones? What else would you suggest? And I'll link to the references here. Now, an upcoming video I'm working on at the moment is about the anti-work movement. You can still participate in the survey. I've got to get onto that one. I think they really have some dodgy messaging, guys. And if you've enjoy the videos that I'm making here, there's a few ways you can support us. You can simply, like the video, share, subscribe, all that type of stuff. The engagement really helps with the YouTube algorithm. You can support us financially on YouTube or Patreon. You can sign up for SelfWealth or Stake. If you sign up for SelfWealth, it's an Australian brokerage I use. We each get 5 free share trades, which really helps me out a lot. Thank you very much for those people that have, particularly with my pocket money investing. Stake, they have, I think, $3 chess-sponsored brokerage fees. So that's pretty awesome, guys. Then you can also use our referral links from Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband, buy a merch from HeiseSays, or just watch the videos. Thank you all very much. Now, I'd like to refer you to this video about just a $100 increase in their mortgages, and some people are struggling. I think they haven't done the scenario modeling I suggested. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you all in the next episode of HeiseSays. Bye for now.